Hey, let's talk about games. Hello friends, it's Hydra here. I'm here back again, talking to you about Martyr. I know it's been a long time, hasn't it? The January patch due on January 10th, which is going to contain all of the stuff up until the January proposed content, is not that far away. But today's video is going to be relating to that. I'm going to be talking to you about the main issues that I'm going to be hoping to be addressed within that patch. Of course, we don't know if they will be, we don't know if they won't. But I'm going to give you a list of hot topics of controversial stuff within the game that I'm going to be using both in pre-patch and post-patch analysis to really try and give you guys that haven't bought the game yet an idea as to if you can see if the game's moving in the right direction to really address a lot of the concerns of the player base. So let me get started and it'll make sense as we go. So the first main issue that I think most players can agree with is the leveling system. Now, it started off way back in the original testing as being pretty simple, but a lot of people just didn't see the point in it. We didn't have to change gear very much. I won't go into all the specifics, but it wasn't that well received. So they didn't upgrade, and we've got the current system. Now, it is very complicated. It's not that complicated, but it is difficult to explain compared to a traditional game. And there's a few things that aren't quite right. It doesn't feel like a finished system. Now, this is being overhauled, definitely, within January 10th. I am really looking forward to sinking my teeth into this, doing an updated guide, but also just figuring out if it feels like it's finished. Because at the moment, it's got a long way to go. January 10th, it's not far away. It's going to be a week away, but we will actually get to see how we're going to level through this game, how we're going to progress through it, and all of that stuff, where we're going to get experiences, the quests, and what's going to be available. It's really going to be a much better picture of how this game's going to play. Now, the next major sort of thing that many people will agree with is there's not a lot to do. Now, we knew this when we were buying the game because we knew, for example, one quote in particular, we were only going to have 10 mission types in total pre-launch, whereas post-launch they'd bring it up to 50 because they wanted to not incentivize too much pre-early play. They wanted to use that more for testing. I'm just reading what they've said here. I'm not trying to defend them. That's just what they've said. But we always knew we were going to get a smaller portion of the game. But that being said, the stuff that we do have is highly, highly repetitive. Enough that many players can't stomach more than a week at a time, or maybe 2 weeks at a time after each sort of month's milestone. You just have to look at the graph of sort of player interest in the game. It goes up with each patch, it dips down quite quickly afterwards within a couple of weeks, and then sort of in the week leading up to a patch there's not much going on. But this has happened since the game released. For anyone curious if the game is dead, no, people are just waiting for the patch. It's done this numerous times. It'll do it again as well before the game launches. But it is still an issue in that what we have at the moment is highly repetitive. We have lots of missions that feel very similar. Now, of course, the patch coming out contains a lot of stuff. It has new mission types, it has story content, it has sub-objectives, I believe, it has endgame seasonal content, it has unique events. Again, I have to be vague here because I don't exactly know what it is. I'm only going off of the social media marketing that they've done. But in terms of variety of stuff to do, in terms of features, it sounds like there's going to be a lot more going on very, very soon. So that's something we can look forward to. And I will definitely be doing a before and after comparison of how much is there to do within the game. Now, on the subject of doing things, one of the other main issues that we see crop up in the forums quite a lot is that people don't always feel like they are an Inquisitor. Now, by that, I mean two things. First up, some people will take issue with the fact that the daily goings-on within this game are different to books they have read, the Eisenhorn novels, etc. So for many people, the lack of inquisitorial duties, such as, I guess, interrogating prisoners and executing people from a spaceship, means that you're not really much of an Inquisitor. Now, we have to respect the fact that the lore does also account for very gun-ho Inquisitors, but the fact that there's no story and not a lot of dialogue in the game thus far, and that's where I think the opportunity to build your character as an Inquisitor it's going to be made or broken within this. So this January 10th, when we see the first chapters of the campaign, is really going to be the opportunity for the game to show off how much of an Inquisitor you are. It's going to show off the personality of an Inquisitor, what they do in a day, how they talk to people, how other people talk to them. It's going to build up that sort of 40k experience. Or it won't. We'll just have to wait and see. But either way, it's going to be a very pivotal moment, I think, for Martyr in seeing how much of a lore maker or lore breaker the game is going to be. Now, when it comes to actually playing the game itself, the combat itself has been claimed to not be that engaging by many reviewers, you name it. Now, by not engaging, let me go into the specifics. It is a point and click sort of maneuver. It's a top-down ARPG where it's a click to move system. So the issue is, though, that you mainly use the same attacks on cycle, or you just use one attack. The combat's not particularly diverse or exciting or interesting. It is very repetitive. You can use the same kiting strategy for pretty much everything, and the cover system doesn't seem to quite work yet. It seems to die too fast and stuff like that, and that cover system's all being changed and worked with. The enemies, bosses are being added. I don't know how much this is going to change. I'm sure some aspects of it will. I think maybe it's not all going to happen on January 10th. Maybe some of these things will always be a problem. But the combat itself, I do think, will be different. I'm expecting it to be, but we'll have to wait and see if this is addressed. But it's something I want to bring to the conversation now so we can talk about it again in a week's time and discuss how is the combat feeling. Is it even looking any better? Because while we're on the subject, let's not forget the audio, the animations, and the general clunk. Now, got to be realistic here. Anyone that's expecting Diablo 3 levels of animation polish, not going to happen. That developer team had... I have no idea. I'm going to take a number out of my arse and say 500 people. But not only that, a hell of a lot of money and 7 years of development time. Those people were some of the best in the industry, and that's what they come up with. Granted, that was a while ago, but animation is expensive to do. What I'm trying to say is indie studios don't come out with AAA looking animations typically. Maybe they can, maybe there are some exceptions. Feel free to prove me wrong down in the comments, but I'm not expecting Martyr's animations to completely do a topsy-turvy change and for the game to all of a sudden look like the most beautiful polished thing in the world. It will probably have a little bit of a quirk to it, but we have been told that stuff like this is constantly in the works, and they're looking at constantly adding more audio and changing stuff and doing things. So, as well as that, also worth mentioning, camera changes coming up too. No, don't really know what's going on there, but there are proposed changes, and we will find out quote-unquote soon. I'm not sure if it's January, might be the patch after, but some camera angle changes may well make players happy too, in terms of how the game feels to play. Now, the last one itself, I think, is the weapon system. Now, granted, and there has been a response within the forums which has sort of stated the obvious, that going back and changing the weapon system now, this far into development, would set them back far too far. It's just not feasible to go back to the Crusader and the Assassin and say, the weapon system, we don't like it because some players would prefer to have interchangeable weapon skills on their weapons, and la da 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 da. That's not feasible. But the upcoming class, at least from the teasers they've given so far, they have implied, or rather they've just said, that some of the skills will be tied to weapons, but they implied that they'll be interchangeable to a degree. So you're not going to have the fixed, I've equipped a, I don't know, whatever weapon you're going to have as a psychic hood, and hence I get my 4 psychic hood spells or abilities or psychic whatevers. I don't think it's going to make everyone happy, because not everyone's going to want to be a psyker, but people that desperately want a customizable experience may well get a little bit of that sort of itch scratched via this class. And I think it does go a little bit of a way to say, look how they're responding and listening to the feedback, and while they might not be able to go back and redo everything they've already done, at least the future stuff is taking that on board. And I mean, maybe with time, with a future DLC or something like that, the Assassin, the Crusader could get some additional let's say skills passives that work in a tree mechanism or something like that. Who knows, maybe one day it could happen, but probably not too soon. So that for me is the list of 6 things that I think really sort of are bugging the game at the moment. Lack of stuff to do, the leveling system, not really feeling like an Inquisitor, the weapon system, general audio, animation, clunky sortness, stuff that needs refining and being polished, as well as not finding the combat particularly engaging. Time will tell. The patch is going to be out in a week, not too far to go, but God, I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are too. Again, let me know down in the comments if there's anything you feel I've missed out, stuff that you need within this game in order to make it an enjoyable experience. Guys and girls, stay posted to the channel. Lots of stuff coming up soon. I'll see you then. Take care.